one day, you make a TV ad and the next day you're making bread.
After the process of lautering, we're left with all the spent grain.
So what we've been able to innovate is a unique recipe, capturing the spent grain from our brewing process and converting it into flour. We know that our ingredients are of such a high quality that they can be repurposed for a food product like bread.
So this is a very unusual job in that, we normally get in at the back end of the process, the marketing side of things. In this particular case, what was very interesting was that, we were very much involved from the get-go in terms of conceptualizing which product we'd make in the first place. We actually had explored a bunch of different products before we landed on bread, and that just made the most sense for the need that there was. We got involved with the baker to make it as easy as possible to be replicable and scalable, because then that recipe would then be sent to bakeries around the country. The next thing was, what shape would the bread take, for instance, to make it easy to be sliced, to be stored in the home, as well as distributed. Another thing that we had to think about, for instance, was the packaging, which had to be sustainable and cost effective. Another part then, which is probably a little bit more traditional, was the design. We had to think about designing the packaging of the product. We had to think about designing the trucks that would deliver the bread from the bakeries to the communities, and then speak to photographers that would capture bread making process as well as the delivery. So the way that this idea kind of fit in with Casa Lager brand equity is that Casa Lager is South Africa's national beer brand, right? So they sponsor all the major sports here. It's a beloved brand, and moreover, they source all their raw materials from within the country. So they really invested in South Africa and they want to show that. And those raw materials are of really, really high quality, and they wanted to kind of speak about that and show that. The way that we wanted to tie that in was that the spent grain at the end of the brewing process was of such high quality that could be repurposed as a high quality bread. And so if the waste is that high quality, imagine the product that came from it. I think sustainability in this project meant that once the idea was there, it didn't fall away. It took 6 years to actually make, but I think once it was done, find a way to make sure that the good that we do keeps on happening. How can we find ways to make sure that our ideas that are actually meant to help keep on helping? Part of that is a commitment from our brands, but it's also our responsibility as creators to find ways to make sure that those ideas are either repeatable or sustainable. The name Bread of the Nation was actually we kind of spent a little bit of time just thinking about how to communicate, what the idea was really about. It was bread that would be given back to the nation. It communicates the scale of the project. And it speaks to, the intent from Casa Lager to give back to the people of South Africa. The nation, of South Africa is one that's sometimes, a bit heartbreaking to kind of think where we still are after sort of 30 years of democracy. At the same time, it's also one of, hope. It's unfortunate to see that I think the people that still do struggle these days do look like me, but there's also a lot of sort of hope, for people like me as well, to be in a position like this, to be able to work on a project like this. I think there's a lot of hope in South Africa.